I came home later than usual that afternoon, the kind of late that doesn't matter unless someone is waiting for you to notice. The golf course had been quiet, almost therapeutic. Blue sky, trimmed grass, the illusion that life still followed rules if you showed up on time and played honestly. That illusion cracked the moment I opened the front door. The house was clean, too clean, like a hotel room where someone had already checked out emotionally. No music, no smell of food, no casual noise from the television. Just silence, deliberate and heavy. Marissa was in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone, not looking up when I walked in. "Hey," I said. "Hey," she answered half a second too late. For months now, something had been off. Not loud arguments, not dramatic fights, just erosion, small things disappearing, touch, laughter, interest. She'd started guarding her phone like it was a passport, leaving rooms to take calls, smiling at messages that had nothing to do with me. Our sex life hadn't just slowed down, it had vanished. Not replaced, just removed, like furniture taken out of a house before it's put on the market. I put my keys down and watched her. She looked different. Not physically, not yet, but focused somewhere else. Like she was already living a parallel version of her life and only visiting this one out of obligation. "We need to talk tonight," she said finally. There was a bottle of wine on the table, one glass, and a single sheet of paper folded neatly beside it. That's when I knew this wasn't spontaneous. I nodded. "Let me change first." In the bedroom, I did two things. I swapped my polo for a sweatshirt, and I turned on the voice recorder on my phone. I didn't do it out of paranoia. I did it because something in my gut told me I'd want to remember her exact words later, when she tried to pretend they'd never been said. When I came back, she was sitting straighter, like a student about to give a presentation. The paper was unfolded now, covered in handwritten notes. She took a deep breath. "I've been rehearsing this for months," she said. That landed harder than I expected. Months. She talked about change, about growth, about how people evolve and how relationships sometimes need to evolve with them or die. She said she'd neglected herself, that she wanted to go back to the gym, start yoga again, reconnect with friends she'd drifted away from. She said all the right words. Then she said the wrong one. "I want to start seeing other men." The room didn't explode. Nothing dramatic happened. The walls didn't shake. My heart didn't race. Everything just went cold. She rushed to explain how it wasn't about replacing me, how it was about discovering herself, how it would somehow make our marriage stronger. She said love and exclusivity didn't have to mean the same thing anymore. That society had changed. I stared at the wine bottle and wondered how long it had taken her to practice sounding calm while dismantling our marriage. "I need time," I said, eventually. She nodded too quickly, relieved, mistaking silence for weakness. I left the house and drove until my hand stopped shaking. I didn't go to a bar. I didn't go to a friend. I went to my kids. Lily and Noah were old enough to understand when something was wrong, but young enough to still see things clearly. I sat them down and played the recording. They listened without interrupting. When it ended, Lily looked at me like she was trying not to cry out of anger. "That's not an idea," she said. "That's an excuse." Noah didn't say much. He rarely did. But he watched, processed. "We'll help you," Lily added. "Whatever you need." For the first time that night, my chest loosened. I told them I felt like I was losing their mother to something I didn't recognize. Noah asked what I planned to do next. I don't know, I admitted. Lily did. She leaned forward and lowered her voice. Dad, that speech, it wasn't about the future. It was about covering something that's already happening. That was when the word finally formed in my head. Affair. And once it did, everything else started to make sense. That night, after the kids went to their rooms, none of us really slept. Lily paced the living room like a lawyer preparing a closing argument. Noah sat on the couch, elbows on knees, staring at nothing, absorbing every detail the way he always did. I watched them and felt something shift inside me. Not rage, not panic, but clarity. The kind that hurts because it burns away illusions. She didn't just wake up one day and think of this, Lily said finally. Nobody rehearses a speech for months unless they're already doing damage control. Noah nodded. It sounded scripted, like she was trying to convince herself as much as you. I rubbed my temples. If you're right, what do we do? Lily didn't hesitate. We find out the truth, before she rewrites it. They exchanged a glance, the kind siblings share when they've already talked about something without you. I know her phone code, Lily said quietly. I looked up. You shouldn't. She made me memorize it years ago, Lily interrupted. In case of emergencies. She never changed it. Noah leaned back. Texts don't lie. People do. We agreed on one thing immediately. No confrontation until I knew exactly what I was dealing with. Emotions were a luxury I couldn't afford right now. Information wasn't. The next morning I went home early. Marissa was still asleep. I stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her breathe, trying to reconcile the woman in the bed with the one from the recording. 22 years of marriage has a way of anchoring you to memories even when the present is rotting. Her phone was on the nightstand. My hand hovered over it longer than I'd like to admit. Not because of guilt, because of fear. Once I unlocked it, there would be no going back. No pretending. No, maybe I misunderstood. The screen lit up. Messages. Recent ones. A name jumped out immediately. Ethan Cole. Not saved with a heart, not hidden, almost careless. I opened the thread. The first thing I noticed wasn't the words. It was the familiarity, the rhythm, the shorthand of two people who didn't need context anymore. Last night was insane. I can still feel you. Same time tomorrow. My stomach tightened, slow and heavy. I scrolled. There were plans, explicit ones, references to touches, smells, places, a suggestion to meet at a motel until things cool down at home, a joke about me being traditional and needing time to catch up. Then came the pictures. One of her, taken in our bedroom mirror, my side of the bed visible in the frame. Another sent by him, forwarded to her email, crude and unmistakable. I didn't rush. I didn't panic. I photographed everything. Every message, every image, every timestamp. Then I did something that surprised even me. I checked her laptop. Folders hidden inside folders. Years of digital debris. And there it was. A directory innocently labeled Fitness Progress. Inside were subfolders, different names, different men, different timelines. This wasn't curiosity. This was a lifestyle. I copied everything onto a flash drive and slid it into my pocket like it weighed nothing at all. By noon, I was sitting across from Peter Wallace, a family law attorney Lily had found through a friend. Calm man. Sharp eyes. The kind who listened more than he spoke. He didn't react when I laid the evidence on the table. Just nodded slowly, like he'd seen variations of this tragedy 100 times. "You did the right thing," he said. "Now the most important part is this. Do not react emotionally. Not yet. We talked about options, about divorce, about protecting assets, about documenting everything. He asked about the kids. They know, I said. Everything." He leaned back. "That actually changes things." They can be witnesses, especially to the recording. When I got home that evening, Marissa had cooked my favorite meal. Candle on the table, soft music playing. She smiled like nothing had changed. I didn't sit. "I won't stay in a marriage where my wife dates other men," I said. Her smile faltered. "You're overreacting. This is just new territory for you." "I'm moving into the guest room," I said, effective immediately. She followed me down the hall, trying a new tone, softer, almost amused. "You'll come around," she said. "You always do." That night, I locked the door. At dawn, I checked her phone again, this time with purpose. There were new messages from Ethan. They talked about meeting at a hotel downtown. Dinner first, Italian place near the river. He'd booked the room already. Assured her I'd be angry at first, but would eventually melt. I felt nothing reading that, just confirmation. By the time she woke up, I was gone, and the man she thought would bend was already planning how to end everything she thought she controlled. The hardest part wasn't anger. It was restraint. I had enough proof in my pocket to burn everything down in one phone call, one message, one badly timed confrontation. Instead, I followed Peter's instructions to the letter. That meant patience, documentation, silence. It meant letting Marissa believe she was still in control. Control is intoxicating when someone thinks they have it. I didn't answer her messages that day. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I went to work, came home, ate quietly, slept in the guest room, with the door locked. Every time she tried to pull me into a conversation, I gave her nothing but neutral phrases. "I'm thinking. I'm not ready to talk. This isn't productive." She hated that more than shouting. The next morning, I met Peter again. He reviewed the new screenshots, hotel reservation, dinner plans, the casual way Ethan talked about me like an obstacle that would soften with time. "He's confident," Peter said. "That tells me she sold him a version of you that doesn't exist." We talked strategy. I wanted the divorce to be clean, decisive, and irreversible. No theatrics in court. No surprises that could backfire. Peter suggested timing, letting her hang herself with her own choices. "Do nothing illegal," he said. "Do nothing impulsive. Let her proceed with the date." I raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting I let my wife go on a date?" "I'm suggesting," he replied calmly, "that truth carries more weight when it reveals itself in public." I didn't ask what he meant. I already knew. That evening, Lily came over. She'd been ignoring her mother's calls, letting them go to voicemail like unanswered prayers. When she sat across from me at the kitchen table, she looked older than she had a week ago. "She texted me," Lily said. "Asked if I wanted to talk. I didn't respond." "You don't have to," I said. "I know. But I want to be there when this ends." Noah joined us later, quiet as always. He listened. He absorbed. When I told them about the date, the restaurant, the hotel, he didn't react immediately. Then he said, "People like her hate mirrors." Lily looked at him. "What do you mean?" "They hate seeing themselves clearly," he replied, "especially when other people are watching." That was when the plan solidified. The day of the date arrived, dressed like any other Thursday. Marissa moved through the house with a strange mix of nerves and excitement. She showered longer than usual, tried on outfits, asked me casually if I'd be home late. "I might grab dinner out," I said. Her relief was visible. She didn't even try to hide it. She left wearing an elegant dress I'd bought her years ago for an anniversary she'd forgotten. The irony wasn't lost on me. An hour later, Lily and Noah and I walked into the same restaurant. It was upscale but not pretentious. White tablecloths, soft lighting, the kind of place people went to feel important. I recognized the reservation desk attendant from our last anniversary dinner. We didn't sit immediately. We waited. Marissa arrived with Ethan exactly on time. He was taller than I expected. Confident posture, expensive watch. The kind of man who mistook boldness for character. They laughed too loudly, touched too casually. People noticed. That's when Lily stepped forward. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She spoke clearly. "Hi, Mom." The sound of her voice cut through the room like glass breaking. Marissa froze. Ethan turned, confused, smiling at first, until he realized this wasn't an introduction he'd been prepared for. Lily kept going. "You forgot to mention you were still married," she said calmly. "Or that you were cheating on my father while suggesting open relationships to justify it." Phones came out. Whispers spread. The manager approached, alarmed. Noah stood beside his sister, silent but unmovable. Marissa stammered. Ethan tried to speak, but no one was listening anymore. The manager asked them to leave. People filmed anyway. By the time they reached the parking lot, the story had already escaped the room. I didn't follow them. I went home. The locks were changed the next morning. I boxed Marissa's things neatly, clothes, shoes, jewelry, no damage, no drama. I left them with her parents, along with an envelope containing instructions, through attorneys only. Her accounts were frozen, joint cards canceled, assets documented. When she returned and found her key useless, she called me repeatedly. I didn't answer. Instead, she received the letter. The petition for divorce cited irreconcilable differences, evidence attached, witnesses listed, Lily and Noah. She tried to fight it. Her attorney delayed, requested meetings, suggested reconciliation. We met in Peter's conference room weeks later. She cried, apologized, promised change. I played the recording of her original speech. Then the messages. Then the photos. Then the video from the restaurant. Now, viral. Silence filled the room. When I mentioned the possibility of additional claims, workplace misconduct, reputation damage, she finally understood. She signed. The divorce finalized 90 days later. Her job didn't survive the scrutiny. Neither did her health. Friends distanced themselves. Invitations stopped. I moved forward, quietly, decisively. Some ideas sound progressive until they collide with consequences. And some shocks aren't accidents. They're the natural result of thinking you can rewrite reality without paying the cost. The quiet after everything was louder than the chaos. Once the paperwork was filed and the signatures dried, there was nothing left to argue about. No late-night messages, no sudden apologies, no carefully rehearsed speeches about growth or freedom. Just absence, thick, undeniable, permanent. 90 days passed, the way winter does when you stop fighting it. Marissa moved out of her parents' house twice in those 3 months. The first place didn't last long. Too many questions. Too many looks that lingered a second too long. People trying to match the woman they saw in viral clips with the one standing in front of them. The second place was smaller, quieter, further from everything that used to define her. She tried calling again after the divorce became final. I didn't answer. Peter advised me to block the number, but I didn't. Not out of hope, out of finality. I wanted her to understand that silence wasn't a tactic. It was a boundary. The kids handled it differently. Lily went cold, polite, distant. She spoke to her mother only when necessary, her voice calm and detached, like she was speaking to someone else's parent. Noah tried at first, asked questions, gave her space to explain. Eventually, he stopped asking. Disappointment has a way of teaching people faster than anger ever could. As for Ethan, he didn't last. Men who believe they're special usually panic when they realize they were just convenient. His confidence evaporated once attention turned hostile. Once colleagues started whispering. Once his name became searchable alongside words like affair and homewrecker. I heard he quit his job before he was pushed out. Moved to another state. Started over. The way people do when they think geography can erase patterns. It doesn't. Life settled into something unfamiliar but stable. I redecorated the house, not to erase her, but to reclaim space. New paint, new furniture, fewer memories waiting to ambush me in hallways. I cooked again, slept better, took long walks without feeling like I was abandoning something by enjoying them. One evening, Lily asked me something unexpected. "Do you regret not giving it a chance?" she said. I thought about it carefully before answering. "No," I said, because it was never about openness. It was about permission after the fact. She nodded. She already knew. People talk about open relationships like they're philosophies. But philosophies don't start with secrecy. They don't come with rehearsed speeches and hidden folders and motel reservations made in advance. They don't ask one person to bleed quietly while the other experiments loudly. What Marissa wanted wasn't honesty. It was insulation from consequences. And that illusion shattered the moment truth stepped into a public room and refused to lower its voice. The last I heard, she was trying to rebuild. Therapy, new routines, careful optimism. I don't wish her harm. I just don't wish her back into my life. Some doors close without slamming. They close because you finally stop holding them open. If there's one thing I learned from all of it, it's this. When someone suggests rewriting the rules of your marriage for growth, make sure you ask when they stopped following the old ones. Because sometimes the shock isn't the idea itself. It's realizing you were never part of the decision at all.